You ever had that feeling that there's nothing to change here? Everything's perfect. Everything is great. There's nothing you can change here. And if you try and change it, it will ruin the magic that it was. I'm like, this is different, but a little bit different. But yeah. NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 3 is one of those things that should never be changed. This was honestly my favorite NXT TakeOver Brooklyn, and it's possibly one of my most favorite entertaining NXT TakeOvers since, okay, virtually all of them were entertaining, but if I was to define which one that had all the best matches and whatnot, that all the matches were solid gold, it would be since our Evolution, so it's been several years. That was back in the NXT Golden era. Back when there was Neville, there was Sami Zayn, there was Kevin Owens, there was Hideo Itami, there was Finn Balor. And so many more creativity going on. So, yeah, it was awesome. You can also say it was glorious. Now, let's get right into it. Andrade Cien Almas with Zelina Vega. Yeah, I have not watched NXT, the tape shows, as much as I used to. Like I said in previous videos about NXT specials, faced off with Johnny Gargano. And a lot of people, and I bet some people who don't keep track of NXT, the tape shows, saying that, wait, what about Tommaso Ciampa? Where's he? He's injured. Yeah, he's been injured since the last NXT TakeOver, since he got injured in the match with the Authors of Pain. In fact, he was injured before that match during a live show, but he was cleared to compete anyways. Something that, if at least to be, and from what I've heard, it was it was a arm injury. At least it's a better reason to say he's injured than, oh, I broke a ring finger. Yeah, that literally happened. They stopped a match because Sin Cara busted his ring finger, and I'm like, okay, I get it. I'm not saying that's funny, but I'm like, and I'm not saying that that's not bad, because every injured wrestler should never get injured in the ring, but sadly it happens in the sport of wrestling. Oh wait, I mean sports entertainment. Well, let's be honest, NXT is a wrestling show, not a sports entertainment show, no matter how much they try to push it, because Vince screams in their ear or threatens to fire them, or at least punish them. But yeah, anyways, it was so refreshing to see this, and especially how Almas surprisingly got the win. When I saw this, I thought Johnny Gargano was going to win. Like, Andrade Cien Almas always loses at these takeovers. He has not won one since his debut, I believe, when it was red versus blue. So I thought, oh, history's going to repeat itself. Andrade Cien Almas is going to lose despite having a Velvet at his side. And Johnny Gargano is going to get the victory, since this is Gargano and he has a better future than Almas. And or at least how I seen it. And surprisingly, Almas got the win. Yeah, he got the win. I'm like, granted, it was through dirty tactics, because his manager pretty much threw a shirt in there. And from what I've seen, it seems like they're hinting at Tommaso Ciampa again. Like they showed, I think it was DIY shirt, a merchandise of DIY, and I think that was the idea behind it, because at the end of the match you see Gargano like back away from it, like that shirt he's seen is causing bad memories to sprout in his head. And I thought, okay, yeah, that's actually pretty powerful. Yeah, this match was good, like really good. And what a solid way to start the show. And by God, considering what the rest of the show had in store for us, oh yeah, it'd be hard to do. Like, all the matches were great. Let's just say, all the matches were great. You can't say one bad match, and it only had 5 matches. SummerSlam has what, 14? And they can't compete with this. And I'm pretty sure Vince and Dunn are going to be fuming the next day before SummerSlam, because they realize, oh shit, Triple H has this by the ropes. I'm like, granted, Vince McMahon gave Triple H NXT, but apparently he didn't count on it being successful. He just thought, oh, I'm Vince McMahon, you can do this. It's not like it's going to go anywhere and have a great future ahead of it. And then you start hearing fans chant, better than Mania, better than Raw. And then you hear reportedly Vince McMahon was reportedly frustrated with this, and that scared everybody because they thought, oh God, Vince McMahon's knowing the power of NXT fans and how they love NXT more than his own creation. That means it's next on his list of targets. So, yeah. And also, during the pre-show, I didn't watch it, but I had heard something. Bayley was seen, and fans booed her. NXT fans booed Bayley. See, this is why, as much as I want to respect Vince, I can't help but hate him with this kind of issue. He's clearly shown he's destroying people's careers because he can't be happy with the fact that, oh, this is a hot property we can go with. I didn't make it, so, yeah, we can't do that. And that's really contradictory from Vince because it has been said Vince doesn't like anything he doesn't create. In fact, that's a lot of people that say that, like Disney. But we're not talking about Star Wars and Disney right now. But anyways, so when I had heard that Bayley was getting booed, it was sad that this is how far things have gotten with Vince's booking style. That Bayley's been now hated by the people that gave her, that pretty much made her a star, and now it's just depressing. Anyways, off with that tangent, Johnny Gargano loses, and I really did like how it ended. It showed the scene of DIY might be still lingering in his mind, and it's causing a confidence sake with him, like, how can he move forward so long as this demon still possesses him? He needs to face Tommaso Ciampa to get it out of him. And Tommaso Ciampa's injured, so yeah, that could be an excellent storyline if they do it right. Though something tells me they'll be on main roster real soon and they'll be ruined afterwards. I mean, like it was said that Vince McMahon ordered that DIY get split up so they could be moved to the Cruiserweight division because a Cruiserweight tag team? That's just ridiculous. So, yeah. I would have loved to see them on SmackDown since the Revival's on Raw. Though, of course, they got injured. Though, of course, one is injured now, again. And is out due to a torn bicep. So, he'll be out for the rest of the year, according to reports. So, let's get to the next match. Sanity of Killing Dan and Alexander Wolf versus the Authors of Pain, Akam and Reza. I don't know which one is which still. With Paul Ellering. And, surprisingly, I was a little bit concerned with this match. You see, Sandy, when I heard it was Killing Dan and Alexander Wolf, I was like, I haven't really seen anything great about them. They're just more like servants to Eric Young. Nikki Cross has had better moments than them. And Eric Young has taken some damage as well since his Ty Dillinger feud ended. It's kind of been, what happened to Roderick Strong? Is he hurt? I haven't heard from him. In fact, he wasn't on the show, and that surprised me. And the Authors of Pain, they seem to mostly work with smaller guys. Like, have you noticed that they see all their best matches were with the Revival and DIY, and they were all small guys. So I thought their styles would be conflicting with each other since Sanity and the Authors of Pain had two similar styles. But I had held reserve that I would think, no, they're going to do it. They're going to deliver an awesome match. I don't see anything wrong with here for two reasons. One, Big Show and Braun Strowman had similar styles, and yet they put on a hell of a match with the ring imploding. Yeah, I'm still surprised by that. Not the ring imploding, but the fact that Big Show was given a good match in a regular match, not a weapon-based match, with Braun Strowman, who has a very similar style. And this is also NXT, so I will reserve judgment. And before this match, we were instantly given Corey Graves as part of the nostalgic theme of the show. Also, before Almas and Johnny Gargano's match, there was a concert of by Code Orange, and surprisingly that was good and was tying into the actual, show with as part of a music video for the show to open everything up. So I'm like, okay, a concert doing well and tying in with the actual wrestling? Oh god, I am positive Vince is triggered. Yeah. So Corey Graves comes out and they're like, okay, yep, called it. Like, this is a dream come true. I wanted Mauro Ranallo and Corey Graves to talk at the same time. This is awesome. There's no way in earthly, in heaven or hell that this could work, that this could be better. I want to say it, but I'll get to that. So, the Authors of Pain attack Alexander Wolf and Killian Dan. And here's the thing, when the match actually started, Alexander Wolf was first in, and Killian Dan was at the ropes. And then, surprisingly, early into the match, they revealed their trump card. Eric Young is the partner of Alexander Wolf. And I was like, really? That's actually surprising. And this match was what you would expect from Insanity and the Authors of Pain. A battle of war. A war of attrition between the two. And especially how they had to be very creative in getting Killian Dan and Nikki Cross involved. Oh, yeah. And Paul Ellering having to be the detriment to the Authors of Pain to an extent. Like, the biggest highlight of the show was clearly Nikki Cross, again, when she tried to get involved in the match physically, and then one of the Authors of Pain grabbed her. And then I don't remember if it was Killian Dan, but I think it was, when he decided to spear both Nikki Cross and one of the Authors of Pain through a table that they had placed, because, let's be honest, every tag team match needs to have a table now. That's kind of NXT's formula now. Normally, it's reserved for the Spanish announce table on the main roster, but in every NXT TakeOver match regarding tag team division, it's always, oh, we have to get a table because the commentator's table is all the way up there at the stage. And I'm pretty sure the 10 count would be beaten by then. So, yeah. Nikki Cross was speared, so this is the first time a woman was directly struck by a man on wrestling programming, on WWE programming for the first time 10 years, I guess. Wait. No, 2009. RKO to Stephanie McMahon by Randy Orton. Yeah, that, like, you could say, oh, well, what about the times when a woman was hurt by a man? Those were all accidental or was not supposed to be caused. And mostly Stephanie McMahon was the receiving end of them, like Roman Reigns spearing her, and much to the audience's delight. Yeah. That was because Triple H got out of the way. Stephanie McMahon crashing into a table, that was because Triple H collided into her by accident when Seth Rollins kicked him. So this was not a direct attack on a woman, but this was like Killian Dan just saying, okay, she's taking one for the team mentality. And thus, Alexander Wolf and Eric Young surprisingly defeated the Authors of Pain. And Paul Ellering is most likely to blame for this, since he kind of caused that. Yeah, he was too busy distracting the referee when he and Nikki Cross were arguing. In fact, I was expecting Nikki Cross to, like, attack him. That would have been funny. But yeah, they didn't do that. But for some reason, Paul continued arguing with the referee despite the logic making no sense. But what we got was awesome, so I can't complain. So, yeah. The Sandy finally has achieved tag team gold. And from this moment onwards, I can say they have now been more successful than the initial Wyatt family in main rosterville. Yeah, Eric Rowan and Luke Harper never won the tag team gold on main rosterville. They won it in NXT, but they didn't win it on main rosterville, sadly. That would have been an awesome moment if they had beaten the Usos, but Vince McMahon hates that Dusty Rhodes made the Wyatt family to an extent. That and Bray Wyatt had creative freedom to an extent, so Vince McMahon found that as a suitable compromise. Most likely. So, yeah, Sanity is now having the tag team titles, and they're most likely going to use the Freebird rule. And, oh god, this is going to be interesting. But I'm curious to know, will the Authors of Pain really blame Paul Ellering for what happened? Because something tells me that might happen. I don't know if they're going to, but it'd be interesting if they do that. So with the commentary of Corey Graves leaving, I thought, Well, that was a good commentary thing. What can they do to top that? Okay, Mauro Ranallo is now in NXT due to his tensions with JBL being a sad sack of shit and a bully and to an extent a racist. In fact, what else could I say about JBL? Like, I'm at this point, I don't really give a damn anymore. I still remember the whole, I'd rather be kidnapped by ISIS than have dinner with Sami Zayn, who's a rational human being, and ISIS is a bunch of terrorists and motherfuckers. I still don't get that logic. And apparently Vince doesn't give a damn. So I was like, well, Mauro Ranallo's going to keep the show on track. So, oh, and we also got Nigel McGuinness. So that's going to be awesome. So that's awesome. I wonder how they can top that dream commentary team. Jim Ross time! And I was like, no way. We're getting Nigel McGuinness, Mauro Ranallo, Corey Graves, and Jim Ross in one night? I can't take it. My heart is pounding. Oh, God, this is a dream come true. Like, think about it. Everyone has dreamed of Mauro Ranallo and JR commentating. One of the best commentators right now in wrestling. I like, granted, there might be some others, and some that like to take over the top in Ring of Honor, but still, this is a dream commentary team. Now we just need to put Corey Graves back in there. Like, get Corey Graves back in there. I don't care who's the next match. I want Corey Graves back in there because all four of those guys will make gold. I demand gold. No way, we already have gold. Platinum. I want platinum. And the next match is, sure enough, Hideo Itami, the frustrated employee, versus Aleister Black. Which amazed me. Like, I don't recall what was the issue between them. I thought it was going to be Chris Hero, also known as Kansas Oh No, versus Hideo Itami, but apparently that's changed. In fact, he wasn't on the show either. So Aleister Black and Hideo Itami... Oh, wait, I just remembered. Sanity and the Office of Pain got attacked by two recently debuted wrestlers who are... let's see, Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish attacking the NXT Tag Team Champions and the Authors of Pain. Yeah, that rumor about the whole NXT faction, yeah, that's becoming reality, especially what happened at the end of the show. Oh, man. So, Aleister Black, after Hideo Itami makes his entrance, Aleister Black gets a concert playing his theme song. So, like, yeah, he's immediately a star to Triple H. In fact, Triple H has praised Aleister Black because of his talents, and I can't wait for what's going to happen soon when he, you know, hopefully one day gets a world title, but most likely till Vince is overthrown. But yeah, it was awesome. Like I knew from what I have seen from the two, I was like, Kickfest. This is gonna be a Kickfest, not a super Kickfest. That was top. That like, there's no way you can top the Young Bucks and Adam Cole super kicking every single Ring of Honor employee at Global War, I think it was called, during the Jay Lethal. What was his name? Colt Cabana match. Yeah, I was a super kick fest, and I think that's Dolph Ziggler's dream fest. Anyways, so Aleister Black and Hideo Itami delivered kick after kick after kick after kick, and Hideo Itami was given some time to dominate. Then Aleister Black did his his special move and got the victory for him. And like I said, this match was really good because Hideo Itami's playing this frustrated role of pissed off, angry. He feels like the fans have turned on him. Well, that's not really true because everyone loves Hideo Itami. And then everyone kept saying that we were getting a Kenta moment out of him, which was interesting. So it's been interesting to see how Hideo Itami is adapting to this new NXT since he's been gone for most of it since his debut. Sad. That's really sad. It appears he might not be heading to main rosterville soon, anytime soon at least. So Aleister Black is a bona fide star with that concert alone because it was already badass enough as it is. It doesn't need to get more badass. In fact, it sort of reminds me if they're trying to replicate the American badass character of The Undertaker, who is said to be in Brooklyn. I honestly hope it's not true. Because I'm like, oh man, Vince, you just want to kill him, don't you? You seriously want to kill him? Like, are you fucking high? Are you fucking stupid? Like, I don't know if this is true, but I had heard he had gotten hip replacement surgery, so please call it a career before something bad happens. We already seen what happened to Ric Flair, who is now being said his organs are all failing. At least he's resting up. And apparently they're saying he has to take a rest for the first time in 40 years. Yeah. So, I don't know what's next for Hideo Itami. Aleister Black seems to be poised for the top. Hideo Itami, I don't know where he's going at. Is he continuing his feud with Aleister Black, or is it going to be just stagnant? But Jim Ross's commentary surely upped the match and whatnot. And especially with Mauro Ranallo. In fact, Jim Ross and Mauro Ranallo got a lot of talk in this match. Seems like even the commentators beside them, since there were two more, were like, you know what, guys? We're letting you handle the show. Like what can we do, honestly? Like, you guys are the best at what you do, so we're going to let you go all out. So now we get to what many people will say is the match of the year, and with a very finishing move that I'm a little confused by. Asuka versus Ember Moon for the NXT Women's Championship. And this match was awesome. Awesome! I demand no changes from this match, except for the ending. And this was the closest Asuka has ever looked to being weakened by her opponent. And also, I realized, yeah, that first time Asuka cheated to win, yeah, that was the only known time. Huh. I just now realized that. And that's when I realized, oh, so that's how they're making Ember Moon look strong, because she's a threat. That's the only way they can make her look strong as a threat to Asuka, is she's going to resort to cheating. And then, she hasn't cheated since, so that shows that Ember Moon is something else. And the fact Asuka attempted to cheat again in this match and kind of did something dirty in order to win, that shows that Ember Moon is still a threat. I don't know what's going to happen, but Ember Moon loses to Asuka, especially when they kept saying her parents and her family were there. And I was thinking, like, okay, well, she's going to win. Like, they don't do that. They always have the person who has their family there to win. And that didn't happen. Once again, NXT breaks a typical WWE trope. Kind of shows you NXT is more superior and they're the same company. Yeah. And Ember Moon did the best she did, and that was possibly her best match yet in the NXT division. Too bad we'll never see a match like that again in May Rosterville, because Vince hates women's wrestling. Yeah. It's not surprising, but it's sad that that's actually true. Gail Kim confirmed it. Naomi alluded to it when she was told by WWE officials in an interview that she said, oh, they told me not to wrestle like the men. Oh my god. Now I'm going to go on a tangent. Why is it so bad for a woman to wrestle like the men? Or to at least outshine the men? It's like the world going to implode on itself. We already have politicians doing that, but that's a different story. But are we seriously going with this whole women can't be as popular as the men, even though there are untapped merchandise potential? We have nothing better for them since we're in the politically correct society. Yeah, like, okay, there was at least, okay, I know the women back then, while they were allowed to wrestle and deliver and have a main event match with Lita and Trish Stratus, but mostly when you looked at the women back then, they were just like, oh, those are the sex appeals. They have the eye candy. At least they did something to get notoriety, but when the PG era happened, all that was taken from them because they can't do the sexually based storylines in order to arouse all their audiences and get viewership. So what did they do? They couldn't be told to wrestle like the men until NXT happened, and then everyone demanded that the women get equal opportunities. And that wouldn't be for another several years, like until, I don't know, 2013. And the PG era started in 2008. Yeah. Imagine being stuck in that time period. That would be the worst thing you can go through. Especially when WWE started introducing divas. Started introducing the divas term. So, yeah, I don't get this Vince McMahon hating women wrestling like Triple H. Here's the thing. Triple H was reportedly many years ago saying, "Oh, I'm not a fan of women's wrestling." And I'm like, wait, this is you when you're not properly motivated by women athletes? Oh my god, I just now realized. What would it be like if he was properly motivated to actually care about the women athletes? Because if this is the match of the year quality bouts we're getting from Triple H not liking women wrestling, I can't imagine what we would get if Triple H did like women's wrestling. Luckily that report wasn't true, but that would have been fascinating. But yeah, Asuka and Ember Moon, match of the year quality match. There are no changes to it other than the ending. Like, Ember Moon, I really would have wanted her to win because Asuka, she's kind of being stuck in this level. Like, I get they're trying to possibly build up to one more match, maybe. But considering how it ended, it looked like Ember Moon was leaving NXT. So, I'm thinking, is she leaving NXT? Is there going to be one more match between her and Asuka? But they haven't confirmed such a thing yet. It looks like Ember Moon's leaving. I hope not, because she have no future in the main roster. Maybe a chance on SmackDown, but Raw she's done for. Since that's the Sasha Banks, Alexa Bliss, and was for a while Bayley show. And then at one point was the Sasha Banks and Charlotte show when it came to the women athletes. And Emma's getting punished every week for speaking her mind. So, yeah, Asuka, okay, a lot of people have been saying, like, Asuka can't lose at this point. Like, that's a double-edged sword. Like, should she lose eventually? Well, yes, eventually it's going to get boring after a while because you know what's going to happen. But there's just one major problem. She's been undefeated throughout her entire run in NXT. Please know, I said her entire run as NXT, not as NXT Women's Champion. She's been undefeated throughout her entire run in NXT since she signed. So this leads to a problem. We're probably going to face the Goldberg conundrum. Because Kevin Nash said it best. If your gimmick is that you're undefeated and that gets you over, and when you lose, then you might as well call it a career because that is done. There is no way you can get back from that. Like, Goldberg suffered from it. It took him years to start rebuilding his relationship with the audience. Canada, they'll never forgive him for Bret Hart's incident. In fact, they forgave Shawn Michaels. So, but again, did that a career screw job is not as bad as injuring someone to the point they can't wrestle anymore. Yeah, even though that was an accident and Goldberg never intended to do it. So, yeah, Asuka and Ember Moon, they had a hell of a match. I would have wanted Ember Moon to win. She would have really benefited off of this. But Asuka, I get the feeling they're going to hint at a potential main roster undefeated streak, at least until Vince screws it up. Because there's no way they'll push for a foreign Japanese woman at the same time with Shinsuke Nakamura. Because Vince is a xenophobic moron. And now let's get to the main event. The Chosen One, Drew McIntyre, versus the Glorious One, Bobby Roode, for the NXT Championship. And, okay, this match was great. They really went with a more slower pace than the high energy, high flying ass-kicking style that all the other matches have had. They went for a more slower, relaxed approach, which I'm not complaining with. All Bobby Roode's matches in NXT so far have been like that. So yeah, it's like they wanted to start slow because the audience had 4 matches already that had them excited and hyped up, so they needed a room to breathe. So Drew McIntyre and Bobby Roode was going to be that match, especially after Asuka and Ember Moon. And Bobby Roode's entrance was honestly pretty disappointing for me because I've seen the piano entrance. I can't remember which TakeOver it was, but I believe it was the first one of this year. And I was thinking, really? This is clearly going to be his last match as NXT champion. Can't you just go out in a blaze of glory with it? Go all out? Like, I get you can't do pyros because it's forbidden now. I get why, but still. But, Bobby Roode and Drew McIntyre. Also, I couldn't believe Drew McIntyre was much taller than he was when I first last saw him on TV. Like, I haven't watched Drew McIntyre on the NXT tape shows, but Drew McIntyre, he was a lot taller than I remember. And then we kept hearing his famous theme song, Broken Dreams, and I was like, can we have that as his theme? Like, I get that Mike has bad memories of 3MB, but let's be honest, who can forget 3MB at this point? In fact, I'm convinced that when Drew McIntyre makes his debut on the main roster, they're going to have him either feud with Jinder Mahal, or they're going to have him feud with Heath Slater, who've had successful runs since the draft happened. Like, let's see, Heath Slater had a Cinderella story and was the inaugural tag team champion with Rhino. Yeah. And while he hasn't done anything much since then, at least he was given a big, successful, memorable run, and also inaugural SmackDown Tag Team Champion. And Jinder Mahal went on to become WWE Champion, which I'm still surprised to this very day about. So clearly, Drew McIntyre is going to most likely do the same thing: go to the main roster, deal with the 3MB gang. Since he's going to deal with either Heath Slater or Jinder Mahal to like cleanse the past of his weakest point of his career. So yeah, Drew McIntyre had defeated Bobby Roode in what was a slow-paced match until it finally got hot at the last 5 or 6 minutes, and like I said, glorious. And I'm like, okay, Drew McIntyre finally achieved the big one. He's finally NXT champion. There's no way you can top this. And then it happened. Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish arrived on when Drew McIntyre was celebrating, watching him, eyeing him carefully. Then you hear the audience turn around. Then you see the audience turn and start cheering when Drew McIntyre was celebrating. And I was like, oh God, I knew it. It's happening. It's happening, and sure enough, the one, Adam Cole, arrives and attacks Drew McIntyre. Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly are beating the living hell out of him with Adam Cole, and Adam Cole does his signature super kick, and they pose with the NXT Championship to signaling what's next, and then Adam Cole drops the belt like it was nothing to him, and just grins at Drew McIntyre's expense, and it, like, don't change anything. This is the perfect show. I called it. I knew Drew McIntyre was... I knew Adam Cole was going to show up at the show. I knew it, because they always do that. And, I'm just going to say it, the report when he was signed, according to people, it was on August 14th. That's my birthday, so I was like, the greatest gift of all! Adam Cole is going to WWE! And then when I heard about that, I was thinking like, okay, let's hope he doesn't go to 205 Live, because he'd be doomed at that. So I looked up what his weight was, since the internet likes to basically learn about everyone's personal life. He's 210 pounds, so he's 5 pounds over. So like, I'm thinking like, oh thank God, unless Vince forces him to lose that weight quickly. So I'm like, okay, maybe Adam Cole has a chance on the main roster. He has a chance. Or at least on SmackDown he will have a much better chance. So, there is nothing you can change about this show. Everything about it was perfect. The matches were great. The ending was great. The questionable one is the ending of the Asuka Ember Moon match, but that's not really much of a complaint to me. Granted, it would have been great if Ember Moon won out that night. It would have been poetic. But Asuka retaining was still a surprise factor. And nothing can be changed. And I must stress, 5 matches were on this show. How much does SummerSlam have? Double than that. More than that, actually. They have close to 14 matches. So that leads to the question, how the hell in the God's name are they going to top NXT Brooklyn 3? They can't. Unless they cut the matches in half, make the matches longer, and give much more necessary development for the performers. I don't see how this is going to work with a bloated card they got. So, yeah, NXT, they won this week. I'm calling it now. While the SummerSlam will have good matches, it will not be NXT TakeOver Brooklyn. At this point, I'm convinced that NXT TakeOver Brooklyn is their WrestleMania. And since they're heading back to the Barclays Center next year for SummerSlam, it's only logical that NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 4 happens. So, those were my thoughts on NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 3. This was Near Reality Entertainment. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and donate to tune for more. And last but not least, Adam Cole back!